Rod Serling's The Twilight Zone debuted in 1959 and has since become one of the greatest television shows of all time. Blending science fiction, fantasy, and horror, it captivated audiences with its masterful twist endings. While the many revivals have struggled to match the brilliance of the original, their very existence proves the timeless legacy of Serling's creation. Today, we delve into some lesser-known facts about the Twilight Zone. Facts that, as Serling would say, are submitted for your approval.
This time enough at last. There was all the time I needed.
Number 10. The origin of the title. The Twilight Zone was so influential that its name has become shorthand for describing surreal and mysterious situations. When asked how he came up with the title, Serling replied, "I thought I'd made it up, but I've since heard that there's an Air Force term that refers to that moment when a plane is coming in and you can't see the horizon. It's called the Twilight Zone, but it's an obscure term I hadn't heard before." Serling may have heard, and then forgotten, the phrase while serving as a paratrooper during World War II. The Twilight Zone is also used in oceanography to define the transitional area, also known as the mesopelagic or middle zone, between the upper layer of the ocean, which is penetrated by sunlight, and the total darkness at the bottom of the ocean. Number 9. The iconic theme song was not introduced until the second season. Even people who have never seen The Twilight Zone will be familiar with the catchy dee-dee-dee-dee of the theme song. However, this song was not actually used in the first series of the show. The original theme was written by Bernard Herrmann, known for his collaborations with Alfred Hitchcock on films such as Psycho, 1960. And while it was appropriately creepy, it didn't pack much of a punch. CBS was looking for a new theme, and Lud Gluskin, the show's music director, hired Marius Constant, who usually composed ballet music, to give it a try. Constant produced 2 pieces of music, Milieu Num 2 and Étrange Num 3, Sonnerie, which Gluskin then combined to create the new title theme. The song became an integral part of the show's identity. Although the theme has been reworked in the various iterations of The Twilight Zone, the memorable 4-note guitar riff is always present. Number 8. Easter eggs in Walt Disney World's Tower of Terror. The Imagineering team designing the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror elevator drop ride at Disney World knew that Serling's signature introduction had to be included in the pre-show film. The problem was that Serling had died many years earlier. The solution was to use footage of Serling introducing the episode The Good Life, but to dub his voice with an impersonator to explain the ride's original story. Serling's widow, Carol Serling, chose Mark Silverman herself for the job, and there are numerous replicas of the show scattered throughout the attraction. The broken glasses from Time Enough at Last are displayed on a stack of books. The fortune teller from Nick of Time is on the top shelf of the library, and the creepy ventriloquist's dummy from Caesar and Me can be seen by guests just before they get off the lift. Number 7. One episode technically won an Oscar. By the time the original series of The Twilight Zone reached its 5th season, Serling was running out of ideas, and the budget was running out of money. Producer William Frew had an idea that helped alleviate both problems. He bought the rights to Robert Enrico's short film An Occurrence at Owl Creek Bridge and aired it as an episode of the show. He paid $25,000 for the film, considerably less than the average episode cost of $65,000, and it was slightly shortened and given the expected introduction and conclusion by Serling, but otherwise left untouched. When the French film, with almost no dialogue, was shown on American television in 1964, it had already won 2 awards: Best Short Subject at the 1962 Cannes Film Festival and the 1963 Academy Award for Live Action Short Film. This makes it the only Twilight Zone episode ever to win an Oscar. Number 6. Rod Serling was not the original narrator. Serling's opening and closing narration is a trademark of the Twilight Zone, but he was not originally intended to be the narrator. Westbrook Van Voorhis was hired for the pilot episode Where Is Everybody? But it was decided that his voice was too pompous. The next choice was Orson Welles, but his fee was too high. Rod himself made the suggestion that maybe he should do it, explains producer William Self. It was met with skepticism. None of us knew Rod except as a writer, but he did a terrific job. With Serling taking over as narrator, it was decided that he would re-record the pilot. This was easy to do because the narration in the first season was only a voiceover. Serling did not appear on screen until the second season. Redoing the narration also gave him a chance to fix the opening line. "There is a sixth dimension beyond that known to man," is the line Serling originally wrote, thinking there was a fifth dimension. Number 5. Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. Inspired William Shatner's Seat on Planes. Nightmare at 20,000 Feet is one of the best episodes of the series. It follows Robert Wilson, William Shatner, as he is tormented by a goblin on the wing of an aeroplane. Written by I Am Legend, 1954, author Richard Matheson, and based on his short story of the same name, it has been remade twice. First in Twilight Zone, the movie, 1983, and again in the 2019 reboot. It has also been frequently parodied, most notably in The Simpsons episode Treehouse of Horror 4, a segment in which Bart is tormented by a gremlin on the school bus. As well as having a massive impact on the screen, the Richard Donner-directed episode also had an impact on air travel. Aeroplanes have little triangles on the cabin walls that line up with the wings. This is to help the cabin crew identify the best window to look out of during wing inspections. The seats under these triangles are sometimes called William Shatner's seat, inspired by an episode of The Twilight Zone. Shatner also starred in the episode Nick of Time before taking on the role of Captain Kirk in Star Trek. Number 4. Only Serling was allowed to use the word God in scripts. Serling wrote or co-wrote 92 of the show's original 156 episodes, relying on writers such as Richard Matheson, Charles Beaumont, and George Clayton Johnson for the rest. Before turning to professional writers to write the show, he first put out an open call for teleplays. He received 14,000 submissions in just 5 days, all of which were either rejected or not read. Other notable writers Serling brought in included The Waltons' creator Earl Hamner Jr. and sci-fi writer Ray Bradbury, but Serling had much more freedom when it came to writing episodes. There was apparently a rule that prevented anyone but Serling from using the word God in scripts, although the reason for this remains a mystery. "I used to get mad at Rod because he could put God in all his scripts," Matheson recalls. "If I did it, they'd cross it out." Number 3. A helicopter crash killed 3 actors while filming Twilight Zone, the movie. On the 23rd of July, 1982, John Landis' segment of Twilight Zone. The movie was almost finished when tragedy struck. Lead actor Vic Morrow and child actors Renee Shin-Yi Chen and Mika Din Lei, aged 6 and 7 respectively, were killed in a helicopter stunt gone wrong. Morrow's character was heroically rescuing the children from the attacking helicopter when the pyrotechnic explosions caused the helicopter to crash into the trio. Landis was tried for involuntary manslaughter along with associate producer George Folsey Jr., pilot Dorsey Wingo, production manager Dan Allingham, and explosives specialist Paul Stewart, but was found innocent despite clear problems at the start. Landis and Folsey failed to obtain legal exemptions for the children to work at night and around explosives, and a fire safety officer's concerns about the explosives affecting the helicopter never reached the filmmakers. While accidents are sometimes unavoidable, this tragedy prompted the industry to improve its safety standards. The Injury and Illness Prevention Program was introduced. Insurance was increased, which required stricter compliance, and risk managers were brought in. Number 2. George Takei starred in an episode that was pulled from syndication. There are a number of Twilight Zone episodes that were taken out of syndication after their initial broadcast, usually because they became embroiled in lawsuits over copyright claims. A Short Drink from a Certain Fountain, Sounds and Silences, and Miniature fall into this category. However, The Encounter, which first aired in 1964, was taken off the air for very different reasons. The episode revolves around an interaction between a Japanese-American man, played by a pre-Star Trek George Takei, and an American World War II veteran, Neville Brand. And while The Encounter attempted to deal with the complexities of race in America, it ended up perpetuating harmful stereotypes. Takei recalls that it was controversial, with Japanese-American and Asian-American civil rights and advocacy groups, so CBS pulled the episode. It was decades before it was shown again on American television. "I missed out on my residuals from that one," jokes Takei. As well as being back in syndication, it is also available on DVD and streaming services. Takei also had a small role in the 2020 episode You Might Also Like. Number 1. Where Is Everybody? Was the third pilot episode. Serling's first pilot for The Twilight Zone was revised from a script he'd written for his anthology show The Storm, which aired on a local Cincinnati TV station in 1951. The time element has all the hallmarks of a Twilight Zone episode, from its sci-fi premise of a man going back in time to stop the attack on Pearl Harbor to its twist ending. CBS bought the script in 1958, but shelved it until it was sold later that year to the Westinghouse Desilu Playhouse anthology series. The time element received an overwhelmingly positive response, prompting CBS to finally take a chance on The Twilight Zone. Serling had to write a new pilot, however, and wrote The Happy Place, about a society that executes people at the age of 60 for being obsolete. Producer William Self liked the story, but thought it was too dark for a pilot. Serling finally got the green light with the episode Where Is Everybody? And The Happy Place was reworked as The Obsolete Man for Season 2. The Twilight Zone remains a cornerstone of television history, proving that great storytelling stands the test of time. From surprising trivia to iconic moments, the show continues to inspire and amaze. Which fact about The Twilight Zone surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for more.